Hello viewers, welcome to this edition of the Bantaba. This week we have the Honorable National Assembly member for Latrikunda Sabiji, Mr. Yaya Menteng Sanyang. I'll be speaking to him in this edition. Mr. Sanyang, thank you so very much for having this stand-up.
Thank you very much, Alagie, and I'm very glad to finally come to the Bantaba interview, the famous Bantaba interview.
Thank you, sir. You are born Yaya Sanyang. Where did you get the nom de guerre Menteng?
Good question, yeah. Probably you are the first Gambian to ask me this question. Menteng, maybe those from my village knows why I'm called Menteng. My stepfather I was named after was a big tomato farmer. In fact, I was told in those days he was the one who used to supply the whole cane central of tomato. So he was called Yaya Menteng. So when I was named after him, so people also start calling me Yaya Menteng.
Interesting.
Because I was named after a great tomato farmer.
That's right. Can you talk a little bit about your early childhood and perhaps the circumstances that shaped it?
Yes, my childhood, early childhood stages, I was very stubborn. I was very, very, very stubborn, but also I was very, very clever. My childhood was no different from any other childhood in those days. It's just stubbornness, day in, day out. And that basically that was it. I was very stubborn, but also I was very clever.
Mr. Sanyang, you came into greater prominence. Of course, Gambians know you before, but now a lot of Gambians seem to know you, probably due to your works at the National Assembly, probably due to your hard-hitting and no-nonsense approach to issues. What makes you tick? Why are you as you are?
Yeah, because one thing, when I sacrificed my good job to be a National Assembly member, I knew that I was not going there to play, or I was not going there to be partisan. I was not going there to be a hypocrite. I was not going there to serve any master, but to serve the country, and that is my motivation. And I'll have this motivation until my term in the National Assembly finishes. So that is it. Basically, I'm there to serve the interests of the country, and for that being the case, I'm committed to that being recalled. As far as to serve the interests of my people and the country, I am committed to that duty being recalled.
You have an exemplary track record, having worked for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, and of course recently worked also at the Osce Secretariat. Now that you are in the National Assembly, what do you hope to achieve? What do you hope to change?
My background, I have a low background, but my very, very good background, where I can say I'm more comfortable, is project management. Because I'm a civil engineer by profession. My first degree is civil engineering, and since I came back from Taiwan 2012, I've been working with projects, the donor-funded projects, with the government of the Gambia. So what I intend to change in the National Assembly, because I am the chair for project monitoring and implementation, all government project monitoring and implementation. You will agree with me, 90% of our loans and grants are injected or directed to projects. So what I intend to achieve as far as project implementation is concerned, we will start from the procurement process. I will want to see a very clear procurement process as far as award of contracts are concerned. That is why before the National Assembly closed, my first face-to-face and mood-to-mood interaction with the Minister for Finance and the PS was that the restricted tender, this is a procedure, this is tender procedure where the government of the Gambia is losing a lot of money. That is like there will be a particular project or supply, and the management will ask Alagie ask farmer come, just two of you, whereby other businessmen, other contractors are not obligated to participate. So this restricted tender is making Gambia's government is losing a lot of money. That's number one. Number two, also, this is where people are corrupted. Because that is now, I'm going to talk to Alagie, supply me, and you are going to get this. But if you make it more open, you make it more a competitive bidding, so now more people will participate. So the tendency of corruption is minimized. So I will want to see that this restricted tender, as far as award of contracts is concerned, become thing of the past. Yes, I know GPPA is empowered by a particular section that they can bless a restricted tender, but this is something that we can amend it. National Assembly, we can make any kind of law, and we can amend any kind of law. And my first priority will be to make sure that the restricted tender is a thing of the past as far as our procedures are concerned.
But this is probably maybe due to the number of complaints we receive. Why are you putting emphasis on this now? Let me avoid putting words into your mouth.
That is what I'm talking about. I've been working for projects all my life, and I know how this process can be manipulated. I know how this process can be single-handedly, handled by certain individuals, and they become millionaires to the expense of the taxpayers. I know that very, very, very well. In fact, if you look at the whole procurement process, government is losing a lot of money in procurement process. Something you can get for $30, you follow the procurement process, they will tell you this is $100. So it means that government is losing like $70 in most of the procurement processes we do. We lose a lot of percentage as far as our money is concerned. And this all comes during project award or during contract awards. So I'll be very vigilant because the National Assembly is empowered to request for any document as far as national process is concerned. That is why when the Ministry of Finance came, or Ministry of Agriculture came, the fertilizer process or the fertilizer procurement, I was the one who told them to supply us that document so that we see. So after seeing that, that is where we are able to realize that all the procurement, malpractices that happen. But without requesting for that document, only by listening to that, you may not know what happened. But when we requested for those documents, actually we realized that terrible things happened, and there were quite a lot of malpractices.
Interesting. Mr. Sanyang, the draft constitution, well, its failure has been quite catastrophic, especially for the United Democratic Party. Do you have any intentions, or what steps, if there are any, you intend to take to bring back the draft constitution?
When I was doing my campaign, this is something I was putting emphasis on. And it's very unfortunate, even when I was not a National Assembly member, as an ordinary citizen, for the fact that that constitution was committed to cold store is something that disturbed me very well. I told you in my preamble, I'm a civil engineer by profession, and in the road construction for that matter, $160 million can give us 15 kilometers of roads. So if taxpayers put money together and committed 160 million to a national process, thinking that it will pay dividend, and at the end of the day, that was thrown out. Instead of having that 50 kilometers of roads, we committed it to a constitutional process. And during this process, there were quite a lot of wider consultations, internal and outside this country. Every village in this country were consulted. Civil society organization, cabinet, National Assembly. It means that constitution was an all-inclusive document where everybody see themselves in, because we all contributed. You have given your opinion, I have given you my opinion. Farmers in the village have given their opinion, taxi drivers, everybody gave their opinion, thinking that our National Assembly was responsible. Our National Assembly was not partisan. Our National Assembly got clear concerns, but unfortunately quite many Gambians were disappointed. 15 kilometers of roads was put aside for a constitutional process that eventually did not happen. And I can tell you that constitution was a very progressive document. So now I have started consultation. I serve in the committee Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. At our level, we talk about this, and for me, we need to get the blessing of every National Assembly member. I have started talking to everybody. Either in the UDP, the APRC, everybody, anybody who is in that National Assembly. If I have one-on-one with any National Assembly, this is what I tell you. We are here to serve the people of this country. You are not here to serve Adam Barrow. You are not here to serve Usainu Dabo. You are not here to serve any party leader. We are here to serve the people of this country. We want to make sure that constitution comes back, and when it comes back to the chambers again, let's make sure we vote for it to become the constitution of this country. Because I have a law background. is a very progressive document. This is what I keep telling them. It's very progressive. Constitution, no constitution can be perfect. But for the fact that they threw it before was that Adama Barrow was not entitled to a third term. That is so naive. How can National Assembly members think like that? One person, you want to become the president of this country. Drame wants to become president. I want to be president of this country. If Adam must have 2 terms on board, somebody will come. We're going to have more presidents in this country. But if 15 or 20 people think that Adama, is his divine right to rule this country, Alagie, that was very unfortunate.
Well, many people think the whole issue, the whole saga was a huge scheme devised or developed or orchestrated by the State House. That is the failure of the draft.
Absolutely, Alagie, I concur with you, and I reinforce myself into your statement. This is true. This is the truth. Even the cabinet, I have a lot of disappointment as far as the constitution is concerned. For me, ministers sat in cabinet with Adama and did not bless that constitution. That was so unfortunate. Those ministers were highly educated than Adama. They could have tell Adama, no, this document is necessary. This document, but it's so unfortunate that everything started from that place. They cooked everything there and called National Assembly one by one, no to this document. And National Assembly, it was just a performance. The whole process was just a performance. When the bill was committed to the National Assembly, NAMs were divided. Those in the State House and those who got genuine consent and voted for it. But those who were called to State House were told, don't vote for this constitution because it is against Adama's interests. That's what they were told.
Why did you leave the OIC Secretariat?
I left the OIC because I couldn't operate. The condition was not conducive. I was labeled as an opposition. And my contract was to expire. I think April. And also, the CEO one day called me into his office and played me a recording that I was recorded that Adama was going to lose the election. I was so happy. I told him this is my voice, and I meant it that he was going to lose this election. Now, if he wins this election, well, that is his business. But my belief was he was going to lose this election, and I did not regret anything. Quite a lot of people came from State House. They begged me to go and they appealed to me to go and apologize to Adama. I received telephone call, go and apologize. I said, apologize him for what? Apologize him for what? Because for me, what I remember, I think when I was at OIC, one day Adama came to the office, and in fact, he made me pray. When I was praying, he came inside the office. I think that was a spot visit. Then after my prayers, I told him, today my day is very good because the President of the Republic just stood beside me. I wanted to shake hands with him. He removed his hands from me.
Really?
Oh, of course he did. So I was like, that was just some level of maturity that was lacking there. But I controlled myself, and but he was very lucky. If what he did to Danjo in Basse, President Barrow did that to me in that office that day.
Yeah.
Gambians will be very surprised. I can tell you that for sure. Because I will not accept it. But thank God that your hand is your hand and my hand is my hand. And from that event, if I attended any state event, Adama wants to shake hand with me, I will tell him no, I will not shake hand with you. Because I initiated it before you say no, I'm not also shaking hand with you. So that was basically why
Honorable, he's head of state, surely he must deserve some respect of some sort.
I deserve respect. I'm also a potential head of state. We are all potential head of state. Every citizen is a potential head of state because it's only the citizens of the Gambia that are going to be presidents of this country. So you are a potential head of state. I'm a potential head of state. My son, Mohammed, is a potential head of state. So being head of state does not mean that you should disrespect me or you should act so maturely in public, which is something so basically it was like that. I was an opposition, and I am committed to the ideals and principles of UDP being recalled. Because this is the party I feel can salvage this country with all the terrible things happening. It's only UDP that can take this country out. So that is why I'm committed to its ideal and principle being recalled. So basically that is it. I was an opposition, and I knew that by April they will not renew my contract. In fact, there were quite a lot of trips that I was supposed to embark on. They were all cancelled because the CEO said the directives came from status. But I'm somebody that you cannot suppress my freedom. You cannot. There is nobody, no amount of position, no amount of money, no amount of intimidation can suppress me.
Interestingly, Honorable, I received information that you were still being paid salary by the OIC, even way after your departure. Is this true, and how or why?
That's a joke. If the OIC, the way I left OIC, if I don't think they will. In fact, there are some of my allowances that they did not pay. There were some of my allowances that they did not pay. So for them to pay me salary after leaving there, it's a joke. It's not true. It's not true at all.
Interesting.
It's not true.
What do you think the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly should do regarding the issue of the controversial security levy fee at the airport?
This is a very important question. In fact, I'm sure the committee has gone very far. Myself, my committee, Project Monitoring and Implementation, I know GCAA is also an affiliated body of Ministry of Works. And during our next face-to-face with them, which I have already told the clerk to write them a letter, that the Project Monitoring Committee will want to see the stakeholders. We're going to make it a very friendly conversation, and we want to know why is this happening? Where is the money going to? Is it going to this consolidated fund? Is it going to a businessman? And if that is the case, I want to know the process. The procurement process, was this advertised? Was this a competitive bid where Alagie, Suleiman, Yaya, everybody can take part and we give it to the lowest and responsive bidder? We want to know all of these things. I don't want to preempt the committee work because we did not sit yet, but don't worry, I can tell Gambians through this interview, give us a month or so. We will get to the bottom of the matter and we will expose. We will release and we will make recommendations as far as this airport levy is concerned. Because right now, quite a lot of people are so worried about it. For me, the best thing they could have done is to fuse it in the ticket money so that people are inconvenient. Because not many people travel with hard cash. Not anybody. This is 21st century. People are more into this e-banking and stuff like that. If you want people to come and pay money, hard money in front of on a desk, why is that money going to? In fact, the tendency of corruption is very high. If the money is paid hard to you, Alagie, on a desk, why is the government coffer? Your pocket is the coffer, or the self, or there is the coffer? No, there is likely of you getting few dollars from that money. Is very possible. So
does the whole thing even make sense to you? Because
it's senseless.
There are those who said it should be scrapped. What do you think?
It is senseless. That is why I want to know the motive before it is scrapped. We want to know the motive first, and where is the money going to? If you know the motive, number one. Number two, we know where the money is going to. Right. And number three, we are able to scrutinize the process, the procurement process that leads to the award of contract. Then we will inform Gambians and we expose everybody. Don't worry about that. I can tell Gambians, don't worry about that, we will do that.
In June, during the National Assembly Human Rights Committee meeting with security institutions, you described the Gambia police force as the most brutal in West Africa. In the wake of the throwing of tear gas into the home of UDP leader Osce Daboswam. You had a heated exchange during that meeting with the head of the police, that is Inspector General Abdullah Sanyang. What should the police do to improve their image or human rights image as far as you are concerned?
Thank you very much. Yes, it was heated. I think the IG wanted it that way. As I told you, I'm not going back. I'm not going to swear to the Holy Quran and somebody come and sit in front of me to a military or police attires and I feel that you can tear gas me in the National Assembly. That will not be the case. But it's unfortunate that the IG wanted it that way and he received it that way. Now, the issue there, I don't know why all newspapers are capturing that part of Hussein where I say tear gas were thrown. No, we took a lot of issues there. The brutal nature of the police. But I asked the IG first, are you brutal? Do you understand? He said he's not brutal. Is your force brutal? He said his force is not brutal. Okay. So that was the time I started giving examples of police brutality in this country. You don't need to be a journalist or anybody to know that. That's all over. Even today, they go out today, they'll be brutal. Even today, they go out today, they'll be brutal. It's lack of education and lack of exposure. And this is something I discussed with the IG one-on-one. Bring any budget to us, and we'll approve it for you, so that you are not going to, your force will not misbehave again. Because if you bring your budget 2023, we approve police training. We approve good construction of good detention facilities. You don't have excuse 2024. Do you understand? Because he talked about lack of budget, which at one point I was a little bit convinced. Even though I'm not that much, but a little bit convinced. I said, now what you do your homework very well with your budget unit, your construction guy, your engineering guys, anybody responsible for construction in the police or whatever, because you say you have a human right unit, give us a very good annual budget. Good part of this budget should go to training, police training. Train your men. Let them understand very well, so that if we approve the budget for you in 2023, where good part goes to police training, 2024 we are not going to take it easy with you, because now we assume that you've trained your men. They'll be like any other police in the world. But any time they go, they beat people. And let me tell you this: sometimes they beat people who can beat them. Because for me, sometimes they may come and because of the uniform, people respect them. Yeah. But if that uniform is not on them, people can beat them very seriously. But because of the uniform, that is the authority of the whole country. That is a constitutional authority, and people tend to run away from it. But without that uniform, there are some people they can beat them very severely. And we don't want to go into that kind of the police with citizens fighting here and there. That's why the IG was urged to make sure a good budget is brought before the National Assembly, so that we approve it. 2024, he doesn't have a chance to say, no, it's lack of education. No.
You hinted, yes, you hinted that the professional aspect of it, that is very important. Do you sincerely believe by providing them with these funds, probably they could improve their professional image a bit?
That was my worry. You have getting words from my mouth. What I also told him was, you see, sometimes some human beings are trainable, but some are not trainable. No matter what opportunity you give them or you avail to them, they are not just trainable. So that will take us back to the kind of people they recruit into the police force. Do they have the requisite qualification? Do they have good papers? Because if you bring somebody who did not reach grade 12 or grade 9 to be a police, he can be a police, but he is not trainable. You can send him to Turkey, to Washington, to Canada. Yeah. He will go use the plane and come back, but he's not still trainable. That was also something I told him. If this is available to you, choose your men, go back to their personal files. Alagie came with an HTC. Drame came with a bachelor's degree. So there is already a ground, a foundation to train those people. But somebody who you pick from Quina, my village, who was just doing nothing there, just because of political affiliation, you bring him to the force. You want to spend the national money to train those people, it's not possible. They will still be brutal. I told him, go back to their personal file, let's switch to HR, go back to all of their personal file, choose who came with HTC, who came with PTC, who came with Bakilos, and then we started training those people so that we can have a very professional, disciplined, and a very quiet police force in the future.
Honorable Sanyang, you also exchanged barbed comments with the Works Minister, with the new Works Minister, of course, and renegade,
my friend Ibrahim.
Yes, and renegade UDP member, of course, Ibrahim Silla, over his refusal to take an oath during a committee meeting on government projects. Can you expand on that issue a bit?
Yeah, it was unfortunate, as I said about the IG also. Ibrahim also wanted it that way, and he received it that way. And this will happen. No. As far as procedures are there, black and white, I am committed to my work being recalled, and committed to my standing orders and the Constitution of the Gambia being recalled. I'm a lawmaker. Don't understand? So anything that the law said, this is not what I said. This is what the law said. When you come to the National Assembly as a witness, you swear. Okay, but the tradition has been there, but it was not activated. I don't know why the former National Assembly members were so quiet about something that empowered them to,
the fifth legislature.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why that happened. That was very unfortunate. So when I came to the National Assembly, when I won the election, my first assignment was to familiarize myself with my standing order, because this is what is going to guide my action. I familiarize myself with so I realized that section 102 of the Constitution, which is in tandem with the standing orders, that anybody who came before the National Assembly, who appears before us, should swear. So Ibrahima is lack of knowledge, and I think he was a little bit arrogant and pompous, because you came with your people and you feel that you are so big that you cannot. So what I felt so bad about it was telling the committee he already swore Holy Quran in the State House. That is like you are telling the courts. You go to the High Court and tell the court, no, I cannot take oath again. I have taken oath when I was a minister. So that was so bad of Ibrahim actually. But he learned his mistake, and we mend fences. The man, any day he came to the National Assembly, he swore to the Holy Quran. No doubt about that. This is something that any committee, and good news is that all committees have started implementing this now. So people can say this is Honorable Yaya Menteng's legacy.
During the heated comments or exchange, he said that you are not a mature politician.
Yeah, he said exactly correct.
Do you accept that?
I'm not mature to lead the committee. That was he lose it. He was angry, and for me, what I told him, I will tell the police to come and send me out of this room. And I meant it. If Ibrahim go further to misbehave in the National Assembly, I'll call the police to come and drag him out. Because we have
sergeants there, yes.
We are empowered to call our sergeant of arms to come and drag him out of that room. And if I ordered, as the chair of the committee, if I tell the sergeant of arms, come and get Ibrahim, they get him out of that room. No doubt about that.
Interesting.
Otherwise, he will get the biggest disgrace of his life. In fact, he's even lucky that we did not even charge him for contempt. Because that's also contemptuous of the presidents of the National Assembly. But as I say, this is a learning curve for all of us. Ibrahim is not a bad person actually, but I think something went somewhere else. But actually, we are working hand in hand, because my committee and his ministry are, we have a very good relationship.
Honorable Yaya Sanyang, in one of your interviews, you said that President Barrow is like a puppet being pulled by economic gangsters who are destroying the country. Who are these gangsters, and how are they destroying the country?
President Barrow is very unfortunate. Is very, very unfortunate. But also, we have to accept circumstances and persons on their nature of occurrence. President Adam Barrow is not fit to be the president of this country. And for me, I thought he was learning. But to my bigger disappointment and surprise, he's not in fact learning. You see, Adam is not curious. He's not curious. For me, Yaya came and Yaya was curious. Yaya can suggest ideas to development. Yaya is not somebody that people help him to think. Well, Adam, even to think, people help him to come and think.
Is that why you prefer Jammeh to Adama Barrow, even with all the atrocities that Jammeh committed and the rights violations?
If you ask me whether I prefer Jammeh to Adama, now this will take us to, we are going to gauge them. This I prefer him, this I don't prefer him. We are going to make comparison on points, not on general. Do you understand? But if you ask me on a scale of 10, I will prefer Yaya Jammeh to Adama 7/10.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
yes,
you will prefer
7/10.
7.
So those 3 points will be Yaya's atrocities.
Wow.
But as far as the general management of a country is concerned, to be firm, to be strict, to be an administrator, to act like a president, to be presidential, that is Yaya than Adam. Adam is not still the president. Adam, he doesn't act presidential because he has this inferiority complex. Adam, when he sits with people who are educated, he's scared. He has this inferiority complex. No, I cannot suggest ideas in front of these people. So that inferiority complex has been in him for the past 6 years or so, and he's still developing. He's not presidential to think people will help him to think whatever, to dismiss people, tell him dismiss, to appoint people, tell him to appoint, just anything. Adam does is people who advise him to do so, which is very, very unfortunate.
Honorable Yaya Sanyang, I've taken already so much of your time, but one final question, if you'll just indulge us. We all know that the defenestration of the Jammeh dictatorship or the downfall of the Jammeh government has engendered a lot of enthusiasm for change in the Gambia. But just like you pointed out, 6 years down the line, those hopes and aspirations that many Gambians had have all gone. What happened?
What happened is just lack of leadership. If I have to give you an umbrella term, is lack of leadership. You see, 2016 to 20, the revolution was very interesting. Gambian across political divide, Gambians across tribes, Gambia across ideology and everything, galvanized themselves into such a powerful political force and go against Yaya. Go for Yaya. Yaya was the guy that everybody was afraid of. But when this time comes, people felt that time is up and time is up. The religious background, tribes, ideology, everything, we all forced ourselves into a very powerful political force. We went against Yaya and we removed Yaya. We thought that our life was going to be better. But as you said, if you go to the street right now, everybody is disappointed. Everybody is disappointed. So basically, to answer your question, is lack of leadership. Lack of leadership from State House. Lack of leadership from Adama Barrow. Lack of leadership from Adama Barrow's cabinet. That's the problem in this country.
We know that currently some Pan-African parliamentarians from the ECOWAS are meeting in Banjul, and you probably are taking part in this yourself, Honorable. What are some of the lessons, besides their calls for a two-term limit, presidential term limit in African countries or in the West African region? What other lessons is there to be derived from this very important August gathering? Yeah,
that is just to tell West African leaders, business will not be as usual. Business will not be as usual. ECOWAS Parliament sent a signal, and the national parliaments will also send signals that business will not be as usual. You see, the entire mismanagement of public funds in Africa, bad leadership, emergence of coups and etc. is all because of lack of term limit. Alagie, if we reinforce this time limit, we are all committed to this time limit. Africa will be a stable nation and we are going to prosper economically, socially and politically. But in as much as one person came and want to entrench, perpetuate himself in power for 40 years, there will be problems every time. If African leaders are going to get wisdom from this statement ECOWAS gave, they should just make sure that two-term you are gone, two-term you are gone. You leave a legacy. Yeah. So that when you look back behind, you see you are proud. You are proud. When you leave a good legacy behind, you sit down, you look behind, you see those legacy, those infrastructure development, those political stability, you are proud. But why do you want to force yourself to go? Why do you want to sit there until you are forced politically, by force to go? Why? That's an embarrassment. You will be disappointed for the rest of your life. You'll be angry. Because when you're a president, you have gone ceremoniously, you become angry and disappointed that this can happen to you. How many presidents took that exit? But our citizens present are not learning that. And they have to learn from this. Two-term limit is the solution for Africa. Two-term limit is the solution to all our political problems. Alagie come 2 times, you go, I come 2 times, somebody come 2 times, then that is, we are going to have a peaceful continent and we are going to have a peaceful political process.
Honorable, is there something of importance that you feel you should have brought up during the course of the interview? The floor is yours before we draw the curtains.
Quality of choosing National Assembly members by parties and by constituency. I'm appealing to all the political parties in this country. When it's time for us to choose National Assembly members, let us not be partisan. Let us not be biased. Let's look at the quality. What is the background of this individual? What can he or she do in the National Assembly? Because Alagie, when we say we go to the National Assembly, we perform oversight function on a whole government architecture. Yeah. Do you understand? On a whole government architecture, whereby you need to know what is the role of a permanent secretary, what's the role and function of a minister, what's the role and function of a director or head of prosecutors. If you don't know this, how do you perform oversight functions on them? If I tell Alagie, go and check whether drama is operating this camera properly, you have no idea about a camera. How do you report to me? Yeah. Whatever Alagie is doing on this camera, you don't know anything about it. So you cannot come and report to me, Alagie is not operating the camera properly. Yeah. So let us not choose National Assembly member who can even use toothbrush. This is very, very sad. You choose National Assembly to go to the National Assembly and perform oversight function on permanent secretary. He doesn't even know what is left and right. So at the end of the day, we are only going to be noisy. There are few of us are only going to do the job, but at the end of the day, we will go to the voting. And when you speak, spoken, and kept quiet. Yeah. You go to the chamber, somebody raises his hand up. It's equal to your spoken language. Do you understand? So they can be there. They will not contribute to anything meaningful in the National Assembly. But when it is time to raise their hand up, they do it quietly. This is equal to all what you have said by way of your statement. Yeah. So my final thing is, Gambians are begging in the name of Allah. It's not about tribe. It's not about party. Let's choose competent people to go to the National Assembly so that they can do their oversight functions and the correction properly on government institutions, which will only make this country a better place to live. Well, choosing people who have no grade 12 certificate to go and tell a permanent secretary you are not doing the right thing, you are doing the right thing. How will they know? Somebody who has a certificate, who has never worked in government, can tell a permanent secretary director, no, you are not doing this proper, you are doing this proper. No, because they don't know. So I'm appealing to Alagie and everybody, Gambians, let's vote for people to go to the National Assembly who can represent us, who understand the government architecture, who understand administration, who understand system. And when I say, do you know there are people serving in the finance committee who doesn't know a balance sheet? How can somebody serve in the finance committee of the National Assembly who doesn't know a balance sheet? So, how will they? Let's just be Gambians. Through this interview, let's choose people who can represent the interests of this country, who are not going to dare to see Adam Barrow, who are not going to dare to see Lawyer Hussein Dab, who are not going there to see Hamed Ba or Ali Fasala, but who are going there to see the interests of this country, to see the sufferings of the masses of this country, to make sure that lives in this country are uplifted. These are the type of people you want in the National Assembly. That is for your life. It's not about it. It's for the improvement of your own life. It's about the prices of your basic commodities in the market. It's about the price hiking that is happening every day in this country. Choosing your National Assembly member is going to reflect on those things. So therefore, I beg Gambians, through this medium, let's vote in for people who can go there and do the needful. Thank you very much.
Honorable Yaya Menteng Sanyang, National Assembly member for Latrikunda Sabiji. Sir, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Well, viewers, that is all for this week's edition of the Bantaba. Until we come your way again next week, have a pleasant weekend.